In this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be sharing 3 real estate horror stories. Now, I've been in real estate for almost 20 years. I was an agent selling properties for about 16 of those. I've sold over 1,000 properties in my time, and I've built a business with other agents that have sold another 2,000 or so homes, and we have a big rental business. So you could say I've seen my fair share of real estate transactions, and along the way, we've had some interesting stories, 3 of which I'm going to share with you today. Story number 1, the poop story. This involved myself and a colleague. We were at a lady's house, and we were there to do a price update and give this lady some information about selling her home. While she was there, she was telling us about how just the day before, she had gone to visit a house that another real estate agent was showing because she was looking to buy and sell her own home. And while she was visiting this other home of the other agent, she walked into the bathroom and she saw that in the toilet there was a big poo in there. And she was absolutely disgusted. And she said to us,
I went into this house and I saw the bathroom and there was a big poo in the toilet.
And me and my colleagues sitting there were like, oh, that's disgraceful. Can't believe it. Can you, but Real Estate 101 is check the bathrooms, put the toilet seat down, make sure that there is none of that business. And we were kind of, doing the, oh, goodness gracious me to one another, me and my colleague. Because obviously we want to get the business and we're going along with the story. And she said, oh yes, it was absolutely really unprofessional and all of this, and we were kind of nodding our heads and going, yes. Anyway, the very next day, we went to show this lady one of our homes that we had on the market that we thought might suit her. And so we went along, and I had done an open home at this very house the night before at about 6 p.m. And so this was about 2 o'clock the following day, we took this lady for a private inspection, so just her, to this house. We're trying to build some relationship with her and show her some homes because we want to sell her something and get her listing as well. And then so we get to this house, it's quite a large house. I open it up and it had just been painted. So it had a bit of a pong to it, which was paint. And also when we went in today, it was a very hot day and the smell of the house was a bit like, whoa, geez, that's something. Anyway, I said to the lady, look, I'm going to open it all up. Why don't you have a bit of a wander through and have a look at the rooms, and I'll come and talk to you in a sec. So she goes off wandering around, and I started opening up some of the windows. It was really hot and it really did smell in there, like the paint and everything. And I opened all the doors, and then I heard her call my name. She said,
Daniel, come quick.
and I said, oh, got a bit of a shock. I ran down the house and I said, what is it? And she goes,
Daniel, there's a massive poo in that toilet.
I said, what? Are you serious? And she said, yes, there's a huge poo in there. And so I ran in the bathroom, and lo and behold, there was a huge poo in the main bathroom toilet. I don't know how the hell it got there, but it was the most embarrassing moment in my open home or showing property history after the story she had told us the day before, and us kind of bagging out the other agent for letting something like that happen. And then there I am in that moment, looking, poo in toilet. Absolutely disgrace for myself. So, not surprising, I didn't get her listing. And that goes down as a disastrous, but now that I look back on it, very funny story. The lesson in that one, always check the bathrooms. First thing you do, whenever you do an open home or an inspection, go to the bathrooms, make sure the toilet seat's down, give them a flush, just in case someone has left a surprise behind. Story number 2. Now this involves someone within my rental department. So they were showing one of our rentals on a weekend, and they'd never been to the house, this letting agent. And so they were going to this house for the first time. They had the address and they showed up, and they were running a bit late, so they were a bit rushed. And they got out of the car and they ran to the front door of this house and they just checked if it was locked, and it wasn't. It was open. So yep, in he went. He put all of his brochures out on the kitchen bench, and opened everything up, opened the windows up, and then he heard people arriving at the front, and so he went to the front door. He's got all his brochures, and he noticed that there were all these people getting out of their cars and coming to the house next door. And they were all waiting outside, and people started even opening the gate of next door and walking in and, sort of looking around. And he just stood there and thought, oh wow, there must be an open home for the house next door. So he's out there and he's nodding to people who are kind of looking over at him as well in this house. And he's like, hey, how you going? And then one of the people said,
are you doing an open home for this home?
yes, I am actually. This one's for rent.
Oh yeah, this is rental. Oh, we didn't see this one online.
Oh yes, it's online.
And people on their phones, and they said, well, we can't find number 16.
No, it's number 14.
Well, this one's number 14.
And so this letting agent had actually gone into the wrong house, opened it all up, put all the brochures out for our business, and was standing in the wrong house whilst all the people showed up to see the one he was supposed to be opening. And as you can imagine, super embarrassing moment for that rental agent in front of all of these potential renters of the property. And he quickly had to run back into this house of the unknown, lock everything up, grab all the stuff and get out, and then went next door and did the inspection for the correct house. And luckily, the people next door never came home. But that certainly is a funny story. So, lesson for this particular story: if you've never been to the house before, just double check the number of the house that you're walking into, because, in this particular instance, the houses looked very similar and I can see how he made the mistake, but always check the number. Horror story number 3. Now, this actually involves a sale price. It's not a nice story, but it's an actual horror story for a seller for a particular sale. So this is back in 2010. I was pretty fresh in real estate. I'd been doing it for about a year and a half. And I got a really big listing of an apartment that was right on the waterfront. And at the time it was worth about $1.2 million. It was unrenovated, but it was a beautiful one that opened up with this big balcony that looked over the river. And the owners of the property were really old. They were in their 80s and they were retiring. They were basically moving into a retirement village with care and help. And the gentleman that owned it, he was quite a stubborn man, and he said to me that he wanted 1.4 for this unit because the one below got 1.4. However, the one below got 1.4 2 years prior in the absolute boom of the market, and we were in sort of a bit of a slum at this stage. And his was unrenovated, the below one was renovated. And so I gave him sort of an indication of around 1.2 to 1.25, and I said, this is where it's likely, but look, let's try and get you 1.4. He said, I'm not selling for a dollar less than 1.4. Anyway, at the first open, I only had 2 buyers, right, that walked through. It wasn't very busy, the market was soft, but one of these buyers was just the perfect buyer. And he walked in and he said, Dan, I'm from the country, I'm here for one weekend. I want to pay cash for something for my daughter because she's going to the university up the road. I'll buy this, but my offer's 1.25. This kind of hardly ever happens, like someone this direct with a cash offer. He gave me an offer that was probably $50,000 more than I thought the property was worth based on similar sales. And it was unconditional, 0 conditions, it was a done deal. But it was the first open home. And I took this offer to the owner and I said, look, I know it's early, but you really need to consider this. We only had 2 buyers. I haven't had much interest, but we've got this guy from the country. He's offered 1.25. It's unconditional. it's money in the bank. You should really consider it. I would take it if I was you. And the owner just wouldn't take it. He wouldn't budge. He said,
1.4, you need to try again. I'm not gonna take it.
he lived in Sydney. I begged him. I begged this man, please, you have to listen to me. I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to sell it quickly. I know the market. I'm selling lots of different properties. They're not selling quickly at the moment. This is a diamond in the rough of a buyer. He's flown in for the weekend, and if he doesn't buy this one, he's buying another one that he's also looking at, and we've got till 12 o'clock tomorrow to tell him.
Nope, try again.
He kept saying. Anyway, I called this guy back multiple times to try and get him to take the offer. He wouldn't do it. I offered to fly to Sydney to talk to him to get him to take it. He wouldn't do it. And then the next day the buyer said, look, I'm in a rush. I'm sorry. I have to buy something. And he went and bought the other apartment, and I missed out on selling it. I was so disappointed, but I said to the seller, look, it's okay. We'll find someone else, as we usually do. But I never thought I would get that price again. And I was right. Because 2 days later, Brisbane went through the worst flood that it had had in 100 years in 2011. And half the city flooded, including the complex that property was in. The entire car park, lift, and the first level of units all got flooded. The market took an absolute belting and tanked so badly. No one was buying properties in Brisbane for the next 6 months. The market was already bad, and then it went to a next level low. And that seller had to sell because he had purchased another retirement village place that was settling, and they had to settle to be able to purchase this other place on time. And so we were still on the market for weeks and weeks and weeks with absolutely no buyers. We dropped the price from 1.2 to 1.1 to 1 million to 900, even at 900, $350,000 less than what the offer was that we had on the table, because the offer we had on the table was 1.25, and we couldn't get 900 for it now, only a month later. The seller said to me, I have to sell this. I want to take it to auction, because auction is an instant, unconditional sale. So we took it to auction, and 4 weeks later again, it sold at the auction for $800,000. So that was a $450,000 less offer than the gentleman had in his hands only 8 weeks prior. It was a devastating story. I felt I couldn't sleep. My stomach was sick having to sign the contract with this man at that price. And he wasn't upset at me. He blamed himself. But, you know, it's never nice doing a deal like that where you've just had such a great price for someone, and then something has happened, something botched up, which was you know, that series of events, and then see them sell for such a lower price. That was a big lesson for that man, for that gentleman, and for everyone, which is, if you have a great offer on the table, don't dismiss it. Take offers seriously, because you may never see those offers again, and the best interest usually comes in the first couple of weeks. So if you don't take those offers, you can end up regretting it massively. So there you go. There's my 3 horror stories in real estate. I hope you enjoyed them. I'll do another episode of these horror stories soon and share more great stories from real estate. Thanks for tuning in.